Welcome everyone on today's webinar, What's New and Planned for Master Data Management System. My name is Michał Zdanowicz. I'm the Product Development Manager at IT Integro, responsible for a couple of the apps, including a Master Data Management System, and I will run this webinar today for you. So the agenda for today is very simple, like our last meeting. Just to recall, we have such a webinar twice a year. So the same like last time. What's new? So what were new features added to the master data management system in past 6 months? What's planned? So here I will briefly discuss our roadmap, plus which I will also give you some insight in some features we're currently working on. So that will be a quick overview on current changes that we are implementing. And at the end, the Q&A. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. What versions do we have in 2023? Actually, we are going to talk about the things that were implemented in last 6 months. So from version 5.8 to 5.10.3. So two minor updates of the applications, couple of the releases. So in version 5.7, 5.8, 9, 10, there were new features delivered, and in the other versions, small bug fixes will deliver just to solve the problems which appeared in the MDMS. No breaking changes in the half last year. We do not also plan any breaking changes for now in the following 2 quarters. So let's start from the features. The first feature was the synchronization of the fields longer than 250 characters. So that was something which came actually to the applications from the NAV, and some of you actually noticed that the synchronization of the fields longer than 250 characters is not possible. So what we did, we rebuilt a bit a solution. So before, basically the text fields were truncated to the 250 characters at the receiver side. After this, the maximum length of the field is available for the usage to synchronize with the MDMS. It's available from version 5.8 at least. This is due to the fact that we don't want to break the compatibility, and from these versions, basically this feature is available. Just to recall you, MDMS is checking the receiver version. So before some features can be used, we are getting the version of the receiver to check if this functionality can be run. So that's why this synchronization of such fields is available from this version. So it will not break the compatibility. That was our main reason, and we try to focus on that every time. So you're still able to send the data, synchronize the data between different versions of the Business Central and different versions of the MDMS. So that was basically the first one from a list. Here there's nothing to show actually, so I'm not presenting anything in the application yet. The second feature was exporting MDMS settings using the configuration package. Actually, this is something we noticed that partners are already doing. So some of you already prepared your own packages, basically to send and move the configuration of the MDMS from one company to another. However, we thought it might be useful, basically, so you can get from us. So we will maintain such a package. where you're sure that all the settings are included. So it will not only help you to do the quicker implementation of the project if you have already some templates, but also it will allow you to move quickly the settings from the sandbox to the production during the product implementation, and offshore the of course, the configuration of the application will be much faster. So there are some benefits of having that directly in the application. And how you can do this? It's very simple. It's just one action added in the in the MDMS setup. So if you go to MDMS setup, to actions, this is something we also did. So we grouped the actions by the type of action, so maintenance and configuration. And in the configuration, you have the create MDMS configuration package. So if you use this action, I already have the package configured. So basically, the application asks to override it. I will do this. And then you'll get the package with the product version for all the tables needed for running smoothly the application. So only the setup tables, no transactional data will be moved, and you can basically export them and import on the other side. So this is something which will be maintaining for you, so you could implement our solution faster. Okay, then if we are in the scope and the area of the configuration packages, another functionality which might be useful is the creating the data sets directly from the configuration packages. So in most cases, probably you use the Excel files for the data migration. So also, this is also how we implement group projects. So we have the Excel files separately for the master company. So the global data are in a separate Excel files, and also the local Excel files are a bit different. So thanks to this, if you have the template for the global data, you can simply import them to the master company and then use them for creating the data sets. So also much quicker configuration based on the configuration package lines. And how does it work? Again, if we switch to the application, I'll go to datasets. I'll create a new one. So we just need the header, like the same approach, like we'll be copying the dataset. So the same process here. And in actions, configuration, you have get configuration package lines. So then you'll get the list of the configuration package lines. You can search maybe from the standard BC templates. Let's copy some dictionaries. Okay, do you want to create the dataset lines from the configuration package lines? Yes, I do. And I have also the message that we have the dataset lines created according to the configuration package. However, we should double check the validations and local block requirements. By default, they are marked here, but this is something which you should review at the end. And also if there are relations, for instance, we have the item variants, the relation should be applied as well manually. So it's very nice and very useful for the dictionaries. For some master data, when you have the structure in the data set, it will require also some action. So basically, you can see that here we have disable local insertion, disable local deletions marked. And also if we take a look on fields, we have the fields from the configuration package. So based on what was included in configuration package, the same fields you'll get in the dataset. So this feature is also to make the configuration faster, make configuration easier. So you have some tools to quickly, much quicker implement the MDMS application. Okay, let's come back to the presentation. And the next topic is fixed target value in our application line transformations. So some time ago, I think it was at the beginning of 2023, we have delivered the replication transformations functionality. So the functionality which allows you to convert some master data into the different local values, just to handle some exceptions in the synchronization. And the requirement which came from you was that when you have multiple values, sometimes in the master company, sometimes you want to map everything to one specific value, and you don't want to set up the mapping for each value because it might be even not possible. So we also have implemented the fixed target value. So whatever value you have in the master company, it will be converted, mapped to one target value in the receiver. So that's the benefit basically. So the transformation from any value from master company to one fixed value on the receiver side. And if we take a look in app, I'll go to the replications now. I have one replication here for items to Denmark. And in the transformation, I already defined one. So I have the transformation for the dataset line number 10,000 of the dataset item, and the field is reorder quantity. And when synchronizing the reorder quantity, I want to apply the fixed target value. So there is no source value to be mapped from. This field is not editable, but we have one target value of 0. So after we run the synchronization and go to record synchronization entries, and then we already had some fields here. Synchronization entries. That was run previously, but what I wanted to show you that in the details, all the values are basically converted to the field value, value 0. So this is what you'll get at the end of the receiver side. So whatever value you had in the master company, it will be always converted to the fixed value. Okay, so that's quite simple functionality. Next one is better user experience when using. It was called exclude filter. We changed the name of the block exception filter. We think it's more intuitive for user. But what was about the block exclude filter? As you might remember, it was for making possible, making editable some local ranges, even though we have some local blocking rules. So even when we have, for instance, the chart of account, which was not editable, we could locally, we could make a range of the filter basically, which will allow us to edit locally some records. So in that case, the accounts from 50,000 to 60,000, they will be editable. However, it was not user friendly, not intuitive, because it was using the old ALCO actually syntax set view. So this is how it need to be built. Then if we had more filters, again, you needed to type it manually. So in most cases, the technical person needed to set this up. it was problematic for the users. So what we did, we changed this filter to the filter page builder data type. So now you can set up the filters in similar way like on the reports request page. I will show it to you in a moment. So the configuration is much easier. It doesn't need to be done by the technical person. Also, what I mentioned that we renamed the field name from block exclude filter to the exception filter. Actually, because we think it's more intuitive, and there were always doubts. Why is it for? It doesn't affect the current receivers. So in the background, we still build the old syntax with the set view. So nothing changed in the core of the solution. We just changed the user interface and the user experience. And there is also the proper conversion of the data in the background to display the data correctly for the user. So basically, there's nothing to be done. And how does it look like with those of you who are familiar with this object type? You probably know this, but I'll just show you briefly. If we go to datasets, if we go to the finance, we have the block exception filter. Actually, if we set this up, this one should be marked because we don't want users to insert new GL account locally. And we have the block exception filter. And here we can just simply, like on the reports request page, set up the filters. So let's say we want to synchronize only the posting, or maybe not. The begin total, end total, it should be editable locally. And then the filter is built. Also, if we have more fields here set up, the filters will be applied, and it's done by the application, not by the user anymore. This field is not editable now. So from the user perspective, almost nothing changed. That except it's much easier. Okay, so that was the functionality of the block exception filter. Now, next one, dataset changelog. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this functionality. The origin requirement was to basically be able to synchronize just the changes done to the data set. So if you add a new table to the data set, you don't want to synchronize all the data because you might have there are a lot of items, for instance, right? For a lot of records, which will be time consuming for the synchronization. When you add a new field to the one of the table, again, you don't want to synchronize all the tables from the data set because you just changed one of the field. So what was our idea? To have the functionality which will actually track this. So this functionality will track the changes done to the data set and will allow to replicate just the changes done to the data set. So only the changed fields or only the changed tables. So running the full replication will not be needed. We prepared a special processing of the replication only for these changes. And user will be deciding if these changes should be replicated or not. And there are two ways of synchronizing these changes to the data set. It can be either done with the scheduled task. So user will be deciding if this should happen in the background, not to affect the user session, or if it should be run just simply in the user session. And how does it work? First of all, it needs to be activated in the MDMS setup. So if we switch now to the application again, I'll go to the MDMS setup. So we have the field track dataset changes. So when it's selected, system is listening, and whenever you change the dataset, is registering the changes in the special change log. And then when you're releasing the replication, it will inform you that there were some changes done, and you will be able to make some further steps about it. So we'll go to datasets now. We go to the items dataset, which is currently released one, and I will reopen it. First of all, of course, I need to reopen the connected replications. There might be many of them, so this dataset could be used in many of the replications. So we need to open them all. So by hitting reopen all, I'll open them, all the replications from the list. And then I'll open the dataset. So I'm reopening the dataset. So for instance, we would like to, our company started using item variants. We would like to add item variants to the dataset. So I'll just type the item variant table. I'll do the indentation just to have the proper structure of the dataset here below the item. So we just added the item variants, and we want to synchronize item variants, not to synchronize the translations units of measures, right? Moreover, in the items, if we go to fields, I'll add one more field. Let's say blocked. Okay, so one more field will be added to the dataset. So we have two changes. One is the change of the fields of already defined record, and then its new record added to the dataset. So I'll release the items dataset now. I'll use the function were used, and I'll hit action release all replications. So now we'll get the message. This message is that application has detected some changes in the dataset, and it might require your attention. Do you want to open the dataset changelog to preview these changes? Yeah. And here we have the special view from which you can decide if it should be synchronized now, or maybe it should be planned, or maybe you don't want to replicate it yet. So there are two action types. It's schedule task. So the task will be scheduled in the background to run in a separate session, not to block the current user session, or run a replication. So the replication will be run by user in the user session. In the lines, you can see which data sets have been changed. In that case, it was just one. To which replications which replication did it affect, and also the tables which will be affected. So for table 27, there were modifications, so we need to push new fields in that case. And for table 5401 item variant, we have new records. You can decide if it should be replicated or not. And then schedule task, okay, and the job queue entry will be scheduled for the replication items decay. So in the background, the changes should be pushed. If we double check on the replication, maybe it was already done if I don't have any other tasks here. So last run date time, it's now, it's 10:24. And probably in the synchronization entries, we should also have some history, but no, it's not run, not created here yet. So probably it's still running. It run the replication, but it doesn't synchronize it yet. Okay, so that's the dataset changelog. So it's useful. It's useful if you modify the changelog, and especially if you have large data sets. If you have a lot of records in the data sets, then it could be useful to use this functionality. Because if it's just a few records added or hundreds of records to be synchronized, I don't think there is a need of using this functionality. Okay, the next topic is the receivers matrix. So the receivers matrix is used for the record level functionality. Just to remind to you, record level functionality is the feature in the app which allows you to choose a specific receiver for each record. So for instance, if you have items maintained in a master company, you can choose to which receiver the item should be synchronized without setting up any filters, just by pointing the receiver directly on the special settings. So maybe I can show you how how it was before. So if we go to items, if we go to related and MDMS, we had the action called receivers. So here, for each item, you had the possibility to mark the receiver to specific country. You could subscribe all, unsubscribe all, or just mark the specific ones. So the management was per record, basically. Moreover, there were no tool which allow you to mark, for instance, the receivers for group of items. So if you have the mass update of new items, you needed to mark the receivers. And this is something you probably were handling by the configuration package. So just to improve this functionality, we decided to prepare the receivers matrix. So it's overview of the receivers for the group of records. So you can mark multiple records and see the receivers for them, and also manage the receivers for them. So instead of using this configuration package, you can mark some records, choose which receiver should be assigned and where the records should go to. By default, this receiver matrix is available on an item list, customer list, vendor list, chart of accounts, and resources. So the same way like the record receiver functionality, we put it by default in the same pages. However, it can be implemented on any record as a simple page extension. It's described in our documentation. I will show you also in a moment how to do this. But let's go to the app first, just to see how it works. So what we can do, we can basically select or filter, maybe even filter the records you would like to manage, to maintain. And for all marked records, if we go to related MDMS record receiver matrix, so that's the new function. So you'll get the items and also the receivers. And here you can decide, okay, this item should go to Denmark, this item should go to Finland, and so on. You have also the batch subscribe action. So for the records which you select here, you can batch subscribe the record to maybe all receivers, maybe just to Denmark. By default, it's the filter is for all the receivers. However, you can choose, and you can subscribe it to or unsubscribe if it's already subscribed, right? So both ways, marking or unmarking the receiver. So there is 9 records, yeah, and then you can simply subscribe these records to Denmark. So by this function, you can select or subscribe or unsubscribe the receivers for the specific record. So very simple. We recommend using the the record receivers, either the record receivers, the one which was before, or the matrix, just for them, or maybe not just, mainly for the master data, because this functionality is also basically synchronizing the record when it's ready. So normal process is that you configure the item, right? And then you mark at the end the item to be synchronized. Then you subscribe this record. So until it's not marked, there are no changes appearing in the tracking log. And that's especially important if you already have the feature, which is basically, how is it called? Which is basically responsible for saving the record after every field change. Because now we might end up in the situation that we start creating the item card, we added the number, we added the description, then modify is running after each field change, and this changes appearing in a tracking log. So if you have the incremental replication scheduled quite often, maybe every 5 minutes, every minute, some of you, and then the record could be sent partially, and this is something we want to avoid. So when you have the record level functionality, you are sure that until the record is marked, the receiver for the record is not marked, the record will not be synchronized. So no changes will appear in the tracking log. That's why we recommend using the record level replication on this main master data, like items, customers, the one which will be used then further on the documents or in the transactions, basically. And just to remind you, maybe to activate the record level functionality, this is something you can do from the MDMS setup. From the related, you have record level replication active tables. And here you can set up the tables which will be included. So if you want it for customers, you will set it this way, and then you can basically start marking the receivers. The only thing you need to remember, if the table is here, you need to maintain the receivers. Otherwise, the record will not be synchronized. So that's the record level matrix. And how to extend this? How to extend it if you would like to implement it on other table, like maybe in payment terms, item charges, or any other table in the app. In our documentation, if you go to our docs with the documentation of the MDMS, in the business functionality, replication management, running record level replication, this one. Here is basically the know-how. So it's very simple, page extension. And this is an example how it could be done for items. Basically, you just choose the page you would like to extend the record. Copy this, paste it, and on the records we get the correct record. The function is generic, so the same way you would implement it on any other table. So this is how you can create very simply the PTE, which could extend our application and provide you with the record receiver matrix functionality on any table you want. So that was the receivers matrix. Now, okay, one of the, I would say, biggest changes, which is probably not so spectacular for user, but for the consultant perspective and performance, it will be a huge boost. So parallel synchronization using the web services communication. As you know, our application for now works only based on the web services. And there are some requirements, some restrictions to that. So in order to avoid some logs in the record synchronization entry table, which is the bottleneck of the synchronization, the replications must have been queued to avoid logs with separate job queues, right? So each replication different should be scheduled with this different job queue entry, and these job queues must have been grouped with the a separate category code just to be processed in the proper order to avoid this logs. And the result of this was that only one replication could be running at the moment. So there's one replication, then another one, and so on. So they were processed one after another. Maybe just to better picture this, this is how it was. So we have a couple of the tasks are actually job queue entries grouped within one job queue category. We have one replication to decay, synchronization entries created, and then data pushed to the receiver's decay. Then once just after the task 1 was finished, task 2 was executed to Norway, and the same story. Synchronization entries created and data moved to the Norwegian receiver. And the last one was for France. So one after another, they were processed. The job queues were executed. So for small and medium companies, actually it is not a problem. However, imagine you have new price list to be synchronized to 30 of shops, of local shops, and in each price list you have I don't know 20,000 of records. So then it might be a problem, and you want to have the changes synchronized as fast as possible in these shops, because maybe these prices will be valid from tomorrow. So we were thinking about the solution, how to improve the performance and boost the performance, and that was the idea. The idea was the parallel synchronization using the web services communication. So if we are in the master, we have these 3 tasks I mentioned, one for DK, one for Norway and France. We were thinking if it's possible to build our solution that way that we write to the synchronization entries and read from the synchronization entries in the same time. So that was the goal we wanted to achieve, that these tasks are running asynchronously, and they are basically processed independently with no job queue category code assigned. And we managed to do this. We managed to achieve, I'll come back for a moment. We managed to achieve such a situation that you don't have to set up the job queue category code anymore, and there will be no logs in the synchronization entries. With a little help of the Microsoft, because from the BC22, the isolation level with reading uncommitted records was introduced. So we rebuilt a bit our synchronization entries table structure to use this functionality actually, and that allowed us to run this task asynchronously. So from BC22, that's the requirement. For lower version, it will not work. You still need to schedule the job queue entries. You still need to assign the job queue category code to have the proper order and to avoid the logs. But from BC22, you can just remove the job queue category code. So that gives a huge boost in the performance. It's basically scaled by number of the replications, right? Because if you have 5 replications now, you can have them run in parallel. However, there are some limitations which actually recently Microsoft also improved a bit. So currently for BC Online, you can have up to 5 tasks per user. If you would like to have more tasks, you just need to schedule the task on different users. So that gives a lot of flexibility and possibilities in asynchronous processing. However, this is something I would recommend just to be careful about, just to make some tests before just setting up, I don't know, 20 tasks for parallel processing, if you have that many replications, of course. And for the on-premises installations, by default, that's 10 users, but it can be changed on the BC service, and this is how it is from quite a long time. So recently, also there was a small, let's say, gift from the Microsoft for having more concurrent task run in parallel. So this is something you can also use in case you have many replications, if you would like to have them processed in parallel. This is how you can achieve it, basically by removing the job queue category code. Unless you want to force the order of the job queues, of course. If you would like to have them executed in a proper order, in a order you expect, then you should still use the job queue category code. Okay, so this is what was actually delivered in the last 6 months, so actually from June to December to 2023, and what we are currently working on. Currently, we have 3 different features in development. They should be finished in the first quarter. So by the end of the March, they should be available in the application. About the first 3 of them, I will show you some screenshots, and will tell you more about them because they are in advanced development currently. And there are 3 of them which we also want to implement in the future. So maybe I'll tell about them firstly. So default dataset templates for the most common master data. What does it mean? We noticed that you asked a lot, what are the best practices of setting up the MDMS, how the data should be structured. Maybe it's not always clear from the documentation and the training videos. So we thought, and we would like to prepare in the application some default templates. So default templates with the most common settings, with the best practices, which you'll be able to just copy and adjust to your customers' needs. So these templates, for instance, will be for items, right? So items, item variance, item unit measure, with the indentation, with the proper structuring, with also with the validation mark for the fields which requires the validation, and for the fields which in most in the most implementations are handled in the master company. So with such a templates, you'll be able to create your own ones by adjusting them simply, and basically it will also make the implementation of the MDMS on your customer side much faster, in our opinion, and will also deliver you the know-how more easily for different tables in the master company. So this is something which should be delivered by the mid of the 2024. The next functionality is another type of the transformations. The transformations for the translations tables. Probably you're aware of the target table functionality and target field functionality, which allows you basically to move the fields from one table to another with the MDMS. However, there is a limitation I don't know if it can be called limitation or the restriction, that when you're moving the fields between the tables, the primary key of these tables needs to be the same. It must be the same. But a lot of times there is a situation that you have, for instance, the item translations, and that's the most popular case. We received a couple of the requests about it and questions how it could be done. That you want to have the item translation move to the item description on the receiver side for the specific language, right? You have the French, you have the global company, multiple languages, French, Norwegian, Polish, and for the French the receiver, you would like to put in the item description the French one. That's simple, right? So currently you could prepare the simple PTE for this, but we want to have more generic solution for more translation tables to handle such a requirement. So you'll be able to basically move the translations of some tables into another record. How it will be designed, how it will be handled, we didn't analyze it yet. We don't have any prototype. It's not built yet. However, for sure, we see the need, and we want to also provide you such a feature. And the last one will be the function to convert the standard Business Central settings of the master data management into the MDMS settings. Again, Microsoft has released own master data management last year in a March, right? However, there is more and more customers, actually partners, asking about our solution because they started using the standard functionality. It was not enough, it was not sufficient. So we will prepare a tool where you can simply convert the settings and try our app to show it, to demonstrate it to your customer. So very simple function which will convert the standard Business Central settings of the master data management into the data sets which could be used in the MDMS. So these three features are planned. Let's come back to this one in progress because they are actually in quite advanced status right now. So first of them is new function to suggest dataset fields based on the master company data. So if you already have the master company or if them already imported some global data, we wanted to provide you the suggestions of the fields which should be added or which could be added to the data set based on the data in the Business Central. So we'll have internally that it's our simple AI, but basically is the algorithm will go through the records in the database and makes some suggestions for the users. And this new function will replace the add fields function from the dataset line. And we believe that it will give you a better experience because on the left side, you can see how it's currently. So when you hit add fields, you have the list of the fields. You need to mark them. You don't know which fields are already in the data set. You just mark them and they will be added. So it will be replaced by add fields view, new one. When you have the list of the fields, you can see which fields are already included in the data set. And you can hit the suggest fields action, which based on the data in the application, it will mark your suggestion, which you can either include or not. And then based on this column include and applying the changes, system will be the data set and will choose the fields which should be synchronized. So we believe it will be more user-friendly, easier to manage, creating new data sets. Of course, it's easier if you already know the MDMS. It's easy, right? But if you learn it, it will be more intuitive. So it's also for the new partners to give them easier onboarding to the application. Okay, the next one, that's quite a big topic. It's database communication for the receivers in the same environment. So basically something which is currently available in the standard of the Microsoft, right? However, there are some differences. Our MDMS works in the centralized way, so there's one place when you can manage the replications and synchronizations. In the standard Microsoft master data management system, you need to set this up in each receiver, and also the functionality of our app is much richer. But we thought that anyway, it will be good to prepare such a communication type. And why? Why? Because we could avoid the web services. Web services are perfect for the communication and for cross-environment communication. But if you just need to make a quick demo to your customer, you don't want to spend time of setting up the new app registration in Enter ID. Maybe you're not the technical person who actually knows how to do this, and you would need to ask the developer to do this for you. So just to make the presentations and the demo of our solution quicker, we decided to prepare such a solution. And what we managed to do, all processes, all functionalities from the current solution for the database communication will be available, except of the deletion process. The deletion process is quite special for us because before we delete the record in the master company, we must to be ensured that the record is deleted also on the receiver side. And how we designed the database communication is that we do the regular synchronization, we build the synchronization entries on the receiver side, and then we schedule the task at each receiver, which is pulling the record. So it's a bit new concept, but with this approach, all the business logic is run on the receiver side. Simple change company will not work. If you are the technical person, you know that probably know that change company executes the trigger in a company where the change company is run, right? So change company to the receiver and running the validation in different company is not possible. So we decided to send the task request, which will pull the data in an asynchronous way. So also there is a gain in the performance because each receiver will be processing the data independently. However, we didn't find a good way to handle the deletion process. But anyway, we believe that it will be beneficial for you exactly for the demo purposes and for presenting the app with no need of setting up the Enter ID and setting up the web service communication. And this is how it will basically look like. So there will be the web service as a default option, the database, the new one, and the external system. It was the Boolean actually on the receiver card. We decided to put it to the option. So it will be for the receivers, external receivers, like different system when you can basically build the synchronization entries and the external systems can get this data and process on the other side. However, this is already in the application, so if you had such a need, you already could use this feature. So you'll get the notification that the database connection anyway needs a web service if you would like to perform deletion operations. But it's the alternative way of the processing the data. And last but not least, that's something Microsoft also presented recently. So advanced error handling for the better user experience. We decided to handle most common HTTP errors, so they're more clear for the users, and we'll provide you the tips how the how the problem could be solved. So these are the examples of the errors, how they will be handled. So if you have an authentication problem, that's a very there is many reasons why the authentication problem could appear. So putting this in the error, all the combinations, how to solve it, it was not possible. So basically here we decided just to give you the direct link to the documentation, which will describe different scenarios and what could be the reason. Here we might have, for instance, the example when the synchronization is blocked. So if you have the sandbox environment, if you didn't enable the allow HTTP client request on the extension, you will not be able to use the web service communication. So here you have the message about it, right? More rich, explaining more. And then you can go to the extension management and simply allow the HTTP client request for the master data management system. So this is how this HTTP errors will be handled. And from the next release of the MDMS, you'll be able to experience such approach. And that will be also, of course, from the BC23 above. That's a new feature. So for the older NDMS version, it will not be available. Thank you for your attention and bye-bye.